All right, want to welcome everyone to this uh, webinar on how to automate your client follow-up using email management software. I'm Dave Ahrens. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Unbundled Attorney, and I'm happy and pleased to welcome my good friend Ken Mahar, who's the CEO and founder of Email Broadcast, which is a company that provides email marketing services and consulting and guidance for lawyers and businesses in other industries as well. He's been a good friend of mine for quite some time. We met just about a couple of years ago, Ken, at an entrepreneurial conference, and ended up starting a mastermind together. And just great guy. Lives out of Pismo Beach, California, with his wife and two kids. And hopefully, if we can put it together, he's a big fisherman too. We're going to be heading up to Haida, British Columbia, to do some fishing too. So I'm really pleased to have Ken on here. We've been good friends for a long time. He's an email ninja. And so he's going to be sharing kind of a much broader picture of what email can do and how it can automate some of the things. We had Robert Buchanan. This was kind of the reason we started this webinar in the first place. Is Robert Buchanan, who's one of our Unbundled attorneys out of Chicago. He came on the podcast and he had just an incredible system built out that basically followed up with his clients automatically, so that anytime he would call a couple leads and maybe he didn't get a hold of them, the typical thing to do is you call them once or twice, send them a couple emails, and then if they don't get back to you, then that's probably it. But he had a system for following up for months, in fact even over a year, with folks that didn't respond, and then also people that came in the office. Some people need more time to make a decision or get the resources together, and of course, as attorneys, you're busy and have other things to focus on. And so, it's a lot of times follow-up isn't necessarily getting done because it takes a lot of time. And also when you're dealing with people that are kind of a maybe and might still be a maybe, isn't necessarily the best use of your time to be, calling and constantly following up with people unless it's a staff member. So he has implemented, again, email automation to be able to consistently follow up with the people that he's met with, and to great results. I mean, he gets people that see an email that he triggered in his system, 3 months later, he gets callbacks from people and saying, hey, yeah, I just got your email. Thanks for staying in touch. It's one of the few things, that most lawyers haven't followed up with me, but you do, and I appreciate that. And they come back in and retain months later. So it's been very effective for him. And so we wanted to create a resource and a webinar to show you guys how to put this together for yourself, help you better understand what email can do, what it is, as far as the powers it has and some of the advantages of it. And Ken has been someone that's been doing this for over 17 years, helping businesses and lawyers build out these email systems. So really appreciate you, Ken, for coming on today to share some tips and advice and help us non-techie guys get this email thing implemented.
Well, thanks for having me, Dave. Dave and I met a couple of years ago, and we were fast friends. You could just tell he's a guy that has a heart of gold. When he approached me about the Unbundled Attorney being on this webinar and the mission you guys have, it's admirable. Dave does a lot of things that you guys probably don't even know about to help the world, including his mission with Unbundled Attorney. In fact, one of the things he doesn't even know I'm going to say, but I am personally trying to build a school right now in Guatemala, and I talked about it and why it was important to me and what I wanted to do, and without even asking, Dave made a bigger donation than most of my family members. So he's a great guy, and I'm happy to be here and happy to kind of help the cause. Dave thinks about you guys like family, and he wants you to have the best. And he leaned on me to do a couple of things that weren't part of our natural service. We're actually doing kind of an unbundled approach for this. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to help, and I want to try to provide as much value in this as possible. We're definitely going to have time for questions, and excited to kind of get to that part of the process. So
we really set this up just to be like pretty clear overview, high level, and just leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end, so that whatever you guys have on your mind, any sticking points, anything that whatever it's going to take to help you guys get a good system in place so that you can, get the follow-up done, because, we know that that's an important part of getting a great ROI and serving as many clients as possible.
Yeah. So Dave, if you want to turn off the screens where people are looking
Sure.
at you and I'm not sure if they're going to interfere with the slides or not. So
yeah, no problem.
We'll get started.
Hang on, I got to move this here. Okay, there we go. You might have to press it on your own as well, on your own side there, Ken, down at the bottom left.
Okay.
So I just turned mine off. Oops.
Stop video. Okay, I think that did it. Cool. All right, so I want to start kind of with the basics, and first make sure that we cover this, because I'm sure it's on some people's minds of whether or not email is still relevant. Because some people think it's old news, and they're surprised to find out how much is actually happening with email marketing to this day. One of the things that we'll do as part of this webinar is we're going to send out a document that we put together that kind of is a curated list of facts about email marketing that'll help you understand that it really, really is valuable. And I'm going to go through some things why I think it's valuable still after 18 years. So why is email marketing still king? Why is it so darn effective? Well, one of the first things is that it's a particularly unique medium. If you just think about your own experience with email and what you're doing with email, when you're in your inbox, you're generally doing business, right? You're there to process your incoming mail and to take action as needed. And if you think about the other kind of mediums that you might use, like a phone call or direct mail, those may not be well timed, and it kind of requires the person change their medium from like, oh, I'm sorting my mail, to now I have to take action. I either have to go pick up a phone or jump on the computer, and maybe I'll do that later. And with email, you've already got your fingers on the keyboard, your hands on the mouse, and so taking action is really, really easy. And I think that's just a reminder of how powerful email as far as a medium goes. The second big thing about email is the network effect. I remember, 10 years ago, because I've been doing this for so long, people in the email marketing world were worried because they're like, God, these millennials, they don't use email. All they do is text. And then something strange happened. They all got jobs. And so all of a sudden email became part of their life, where maybe it wasn't before. But because everybody relies on email, and email is just a thing that you do to be a professional and to do work, everybody's on the system. And so it has a network effect of the more people are on it, the more important it is, the more it grows. And maybe that's why it hasn't been unseated yet as far as a marketing tool, because how do you really get away from email, right? There's so many people using it. I think the third most powerful thing about it is that it's permission-based. So to get into somebody's inbox, at some point they have to give you permission. Now, of course, there's spammers that don't believe that, but when you're processing your email, you're really looking at it. This is your curated list of things to do because you've signed up for an email from a company, or you've got inbound traffic from your professional life, but you've given permission to be there. And again, unlike a radio ad or a flyer or an ad where you're basically trying to interrupt somebody and say, hey, look at me, email is something that if you've already gotten permission, you're welcome, and your message is much better received. And of course, the cool thing about email is that it's, ordinarily connected to the internet. So it's very, very easy to include a video, a link to a page, resources. So even in a short, small email, you can provide a lot of value for people and give them jumping off points, drive them back to your website, drive them to a YouTube video, give them some kind of resource. And so it's incredibly dynamic and just something you don't get. The other part about email, is that you can forward it, right? And we call this the viral effect. So if you have great content that's worthy of a reader's attention, they probably know other people that feel the same way, right? I'm sure we've all forwarded an email to somebody else saying, hey, check this out. And we can also personalize emails. And this goes just beyond the traditional, you know, hi, Dave, getting somebody's first name mail merged in there, but you can really kind of target and segment your audience and provide super personalized messages. I'll give you a quick example. One of our clients is a furniture retailer, and we recently targeted what turned out to be 7.8% of their list. These are people that had opened up credit accounts with the store. And so we did a specific message targeted to just those people, and we ended up driving $400,000 in revenue for a single weekend just by targeting a small portion of the list. So they were pretty excited about that. And then, you know, really there are a million reasons. So I just thought I'd throw 5 more in here. The fact that it's extremely cost effective is a big deal. It's scalable, right? Whether you have 20 people on your email list or 20,000, essentially the work is about the same. And so it's very, very scalable. And that certainly comes into play with automation. As the months mount up, right, and you have more and more prospects that you've tried to help or deal with, the more work it would be to try to get back in touch with all those people. And that's where automation really takes over and makes it completely scalable. Another nice thing about emails, we can integrate it with your CRM. So CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. That's, you know, the thing that you're using to track your leads and cases in, like Lexicata or Clio or Insightly. So we can integrate it with that and make it kind of a 1-2 punch of being able to leverage that. And then, you know, it's relatively simple, right? I mean, people aren't really intimidated by emails, and so it's a great medium. But it's also kind of simple on the big picture, but once you start to dig into it, there actually is a lot to it, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but Dave's a pretty avid golfer, and a lot of people will look at golf and say, well, it's pretty simple. You know, you start here with the ball, you put it in the cup way down there, and you whack it to get there. But the more, if you've ever golfed, the more you get into it, the more you realize how much is involved and all the subtleties and all the things that happen. So anyway, that's what I'm here to help answer. So I think the big reason is that all of this results in 23% of sales. And I wanted to give you a couple more stats on email marketing, but this is the biggie. So 23% on average, companies are attributing 23% of their total sales to email marketing. This is according to Adestra. And this is one of the things that we're going to be, that document we're going to send you. 91% of consumers check their email daily. 66% of consumers have made a purchase as a result of an email they receive, while only 20% have made a purchase as a result of Facebook, and only 6% as a result of Twitter. 72% of consumers say their email is their favored conduit of communication with companies they do business with. 61% say they like to receive promotional emails weekly, and 28% want them even more frequently. That's not me, but there's, you know, a lot of people love getting their emails. Email popularity is on the rise, with 2.9 billion email users forecasted for 2019, according to Statista. And this is interesting. 70% of brands are not personalizing emails sent to their subscribers, yet personalized subject lines are 22% more likely to get opened. And only 10% of companies employ individuals who are dedicated to email marketing. So the responsibility for email usually falls on an individual as part of their wider marketing responsibilities for 40% of companies and 44% of even advertising agencies. And just another one, there's 20 facts in here. I'm not going to read them all, but one more. The lifetime value of customers acquired through email is 12% higher than average. And by the way, Twitter is 23% lower than average. So email works because everybody's there and it drives a lot of business. So I guess that's kind of the main thing that I wanted to make clear. So what's next? Let's talk about you guys and you and why email marketing matters for you and as an attorney. And if anyone's, acutely aware of the fact that time is money, it's attorneys. So as you're following up with your leads, you're already aware that you're making an investment. So you want to make sure that you're investing wisely. So first off, one of the things that I want to remind you to consider is understanding what a true cost of your lead is. If you really think about it and you look at all of your marketing costs and then divide that with, whether it's per year or per month, but you look at all your marketing costs and then you divide that by the total number of leads you've gotten for the year, that's the real cost of your leads. So what are the marketing costs? Well, your website, for instance, primary reason it's there is to get business. You may be investing in SEO to try to rank higher in your local area. Maybe you've got a Google listing, Chamber of Commerce subscription. Maybe you're in the yellow pages. You probably have a sign on your building. Your phones are there so you can prospect and answer phone calls. Your business cards, client lunches, gifts, your unbundled attorney leads. All these factor into the cost of your leads. And then you also have to remember that follow-up time needs to also be included. And I think everybody understands this. And this is actually part of the reason that email marketing is so powerful. Because what happens when you call back a lead, right? Whether it's an unbundled attorney lead or another lead that comes in, 100% of the people you contact are not actually ready for action. And it could be for a long list of reasons, and I'm sure you've heard all of them, right? Well, I need to talk to my significant other, or I'm just doing some research at this point, or I don't know if I even need an attorney yet. So you get a lot of excuses, but really, in my opinion, most of the time those are smoke screens for what they really don't want to say, which is, I'm not sure I like you yet, or I trust you, right? For many people, this may be hiring an attorney is, this might be their first time, and the entire thing is nerve-wracking for them. Then on the other side, there's you who've done this a million times, and you're not nervous, and you're just trying to get an answer either way, yes or no, can I help you? And the problem is that maybe is like the worst possible outcome, because maybe is expensive. It means that you're not there yet, but you might be at some time in the future. And so what most attorneys do at this point is they have to move on with their day, because the question of cost of following up with any particular lead when it's a maybe is potentially too high. And so they do their best to say, okay, well, do you have my, website saved? Do you have my email? Great. Do you have my card? Let us know when you're ready. And they kind of hope for the best. So, but if you think about that strategy, is that really the best strategy for helping them trust you or helping them like you? And I don't think it is. People trust others and they like others whom they've had kind of repeated interactions with, right? Think about your friendships, your professional relationships. That makes sense. If you're constantly engaging with somebody, that's when rapport builds and you start to understand who they are. So the same thing's happening with your lead, right? They clicked on a thing, they filled out a form, they got a call, but they're still not sure you're ready for them, or that you're right for them. And so they're kind of waiting for this relationship to blossom so that they feel like contacting you. Sometimes that's right away. Sometimes, like Dave talked about before, it takes weeks or months or maybe even a year for enough things to happen for them to want to actually take action. So, and the benefit of using email marketing are numerous for this problem. First off, when you are working with somebody, if you don't have email marketing to do this, then your leads are basically, they come and they go and that's it. And you look back at the end of the month, you go, okay, how did we do with our leads? How many of them did we close? And then you don't have anything there's no follow-up system, so you're not going to leverage anything other than what you were good at. So if you happen to have a particularly good month, you might have gotten great close rate with your leads. If you didn't, well, then you just kind of spent a bunch of money. So the beauty of email marketing is that we can solve this problem and allow you to move on to your other billable activities. So If you have an email marketing platform properly integrated with your systems, you can simply add this contact to your automated follow-up system. And that'll keep them in touch, and you'll be able to contact them by name. You'll have your contact information right inside, your phone number links back to your website. It's a beautiful thing. You can decide, you can set up what kind of messages should go out first, second, third, decide what interval they're going to go out. And these messages can help them like you and trust you and believe that you're there to help solve their problem. And the beauty of it is that, but when you do this, you do it without taking an additional second out of your day. I mean, once you click the right button, the system takes over, and you're not wasting any additional time. So the end result is, instead of wasting that initial investment of sourcing the lead and all the follow-up time you spent, you now have a good shot at still earning their business when the time is right. And as each month goes by, your list gets bigger and bigger and starts paying amazing dividends, with people calling you back that you've completely forgotten about. Like, hey, I've been getting your emails. I really appreciate the follow-up, and I'm ready to take action. Just like Dave was talking about earlier. So, and this is scalable. So it doesn't matter that you've been processing new leads for the last 6 months or year. If you've got 500, 1,000, 10,000 people, the system doesn't care, right? It doesn't break down. So anyway, before you get too excited, it sounds like this might be a panacea. And so you're going, okay, well, if this is so great, why isn't everybody using it? But, the benefits are amazing. Like, for instance, if you've ever gotten sick or taken a vacation, the system doesn't need you to keep working. So it's still going to go work and have leads for you when you get back. If you've ever forwarded an email, this is going to happen for you too. The email that you send to somebody about divorce, for instance, in fact, you'll see the content that I wrote for you guys. If it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to that particular prospect. Maybe they do know somebody that's going through this issue, and it's easy to forward off to them. So, another thing is, are your competitors doing this? If not, this totally differentiates you and your firm for anyone that's like shopping around. Maybe the reason they haven't said yes yet is they're kind of comparing you to a couple of others. Well, if you're adding value for them and sending them an email that actually gives them information and is building that relationship, you're certainly going to profit from that. So, and by the way, you should make sure that these emails are responsive and on a mobile phone. So what's the issue? Well, if this is so easy, why isn't everybody doing it, kind of thing? And there's actually, there's some pretty substantial challenges to doing email marketing well, which is maybe why it hasn't happened at your firm. And the first one is content, right? Like, what are we going to say? And attorneys, it's not like you have any lack of subject matter that you're an expert on, but it's how do we deliver it? What's the right cadence? What's the right tempo? How often should we send messages? What should they look like? All that stuff's important, and sometimes that people can kind of freeze up on that. And then there's some coding that needs to happen, right? Not only on the email itself, making sure that it looks right in all the different email templates, but if you're going to be setting this up with your CRM and integrating with your system, that needs some coding experience as well. And then just when you think you've got it all set up, things change. And having spent 18 years in this industry, this is kind of a consistent theme. We have to really be on guard for everything that's happening. For instance, Outlook finally just changed the way they accept CSS in their header messages, and so it's given us a new capability to use Outlook that hasn't been available before. And if you're not paying attention to that kind of thing, you're probably gonna miss that. And then, once it is all set up, being able to look at it and say, okay, is this optimized? Is this still happening? Do all of our links still work? Taking a look at that. So it's certainly not a mountain you can't climb, but there's some work to be done. And, that's kind of why we're here, is to answer questions about this. So anyway, we're going to wrap up a little bit. here, and here's what we've talked about so far. So we know that email works. It's driving 23% of sales, you know, across all different kinds of industries. It may not be that high for you. It may be higher. It just depends. We know that for people to move to the buying phase, they have to like you and they have to trust you. And sometimes that hasn't happened yet when you're first calling them, and it takes some time. But you can't follow up with everybody personally on the phone, and so at some point you need to use automation. If I didn't say this before, it's important to say now that, you know, automation is great, but you can't rely on it 100%, right? It's really important that you first make that initial contact, even if it's just leaving a voicemail or two, like, hey, I've been trying to reach you. Then if people get an email from you, they're much more open to responding to it rather than just getting, you know, automation only. And then we talked about how the value of it builds over time, that the longer your program is running, the more you're going to be getting out of it. And then lastly, that it's challenging. So before we go to questions, I just wanted to kind of give you a case study on an attorney that we've helped and kind of what we've done for them. Dave, can you tell me that I'm not talking to just my room and you're still here?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Great. So, so this is Joshua Goldstein. He's an immigration attorney out of Boston. Josh had a dream to set up an office in LA, and that's what he's been doing over the last year or two. So he hired us back in 2015, and just renewed this month actually. And so what have we done for him? Well, first thing we did was we created a custom email template that exactly matches his branding and website, which is really strong. We gave people an easy sign-up method on the website to learn more about what his practice offers. Then we designed and wrote 3 messages for anyone that signed up, kind of properly introducing the firm, building that rapport, building that trust, and really kind of conveying his unique selling proposition, what makes these guys special. And we integrated his back-end system. He uses actually Insightly. And we did this for 2 problems to try to solve. So one of the issues that they recognized was that when people would set up an appointment and then not show, nothing actually happened, right? This is a busy office. There's nobody kind of thinking about, well, should we call this guy back? And so people would set up appointments, no show, and then nothing would happen. And they're like, man, these are people that have already shown interest in us. They already tried to make a meeting, and maybe we should, you know, follow up with them. And so what we've done is we created right in their CRM, what happens is all they have to do is the administrator clicks a button that says no show. And we kick off a 3 email series about getting back on the calendar, right? The first one's very friendly about, hey, you didn't show up today. That's all right. You know, we realize stuff happens. Here's our phone number. Here's a way to, you know, here's a link to reschedule. Second message is like, gosh, you didn't show up for your appointment and we didn't hear back from you from our first message. You want to make sure that you're okay. You know, this is an immigration attorney, right? So who knows what happened. But anyway, there's 3 messages that go out with kind of varying degrees of intensity, just saying, hey, we really, you know, if this is an issue for you, putting it off is probably not a good idea. Get in touch with us. Then there was another problem that they had that we solved with email, and that they would have people come in and they would say, great, you know, now that I've listened to you, we will take your case. Here's how much it's going to be. And, you know, a percentage of those people would say, okay, let's get started. And they would sign up and pay their, you know, their deposit. But for the vast majority of people, they would just, you know, be like, okay, well, we're going to think about it, talk about it, whatever. And they would leave the office, and none of those people were getting followed up with, right? Because the same problem, they were concerned about processing all the new incoming leads. And so here they have already spent, you know, got in person in the office, spent time, did that, and nothing happened after that. So we set up another series that goes out, again, 3 messages about, hey, it was great to have you in, you know, we can't wait to get started. Here's, again, kind of our credentials and why you should hire us. And then, you know, there's 3 messages about that. And then once a month, we actually broadcast to pretty much everybody in his audience with news. So they're pretty good. There's a lot going on in immigration right now, obviously. So they're writing up blog posts about, how-tos or their opinion or, what to do in these certain situations. And so we broadcast out and make sure that people are aware of those on a template. So I just wanted to show you a quick screenshot of kind of what the results were. So I grabbed one of his, I think this is his welcome message, and show you some of the stats. And if you've done email marketing at all, you'll see these numbers and they're pretty eye-popping. So of the undecideds, so people who came in, got a presentation, the attorney said, we'll take your case, 42% of those messages of follow-up series that go out are opened, and 10% of them are clicked. And so if you can think of what the business impact of just that single thing that's happening for them, it can be pretty substantial. The second is their welcome series. Again, that's almost 40% open rate with a 10% click-through rate. So people are getting those, they're opening them, they're clicking on one of the numerous links that we put in there. And then the no-show, 35% of those messages are also getting opened. And so, the results are that they're getting a lot of business that would have otherwise not happened because they've got an automated system now that handles this stuff. So, so we're about to get to questions on kind of how we can help. Dave and I collaborated and we put together some ideas on what we could do for you guys, and this is what we came up with. First off is a DIY solution. So I've never done this before. We consider our copywriting kind of part of our secret sauce, and so we're hoping that you love this and that it's a generous offer, but we're basically giving you free content today for 6 messages that were that we
Ken was initially reluctant, but but he really wanted. We talked about this. We really wanted to give everyone something they can take away from this no matter what. Implement it yourself if you need to, and Ken's going to make his services available to all you guys as well. But we wanted to make it something that any of you can take away from this and start to implement on your own. And then when you get stuck, then we have support and everything from there as well. So
yeah. So we'll send you the copy for the 6 emails that we wrote. We'll also share that 21 Facts About Email Marketing document in case you have interest in that. And we'll send all that stuff to you after the call. This is what the document will look like with the 6 messages. And then, so what are the options? Are there other options for getting help? Like right now, if you're thinking, okay, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to implement all this stuff, and so big deal. I wanted to share with you what we do. So we have, full service email campaign. This is kind of our bread and butter and what we usually do for clients. It includes, 18 years of strategy of understanding email as a medium, knowing what to do and how to implement it. We usually do, we always do it. We do a custom template design. So we perfectly match your branding. In fact, we kind of try to one-up it. Email template that's completely mobile responsive, coded for all the different email clients that it might be received in. My team comes up with 100 content ideas. We have a dedicated account coordinator that is your person that understands you and your business and knows all about what your goals are. We do all the copywriting. We create all the images. We set up the automation as needed, just like we did for Josh. We provide reporting information. Make sure that we're optimizing everything, and of course, a monthly broadcast is usually included. In fact, we'll even take that content that we create for your broadcast and post it on your website as a blog post. That's one of the services that we do. So anyway, so we obviously have the full service campaign. That's kind of what we do. My company is very lean. We're a small company. I have all my people are long-term contractors, so we don't have fancy offices and a bunch of overhead, so we're already pretty lean. Our typical costs for this kind of full service approach is $2,000–3,000 a month. So for unbundled attorneys, we're offering $500 off on that. And then if you want to, and this is where I did an unbundled approach here took a very valuable part of what's usually included in our full service email campaign and said, I'm willing to extract this piece because it's what we're talking about today, which is the automated follow-up to your leads, and we're going to provide that as a special unbundled automation package. And it's not instead of the $2,000-3,000 a month, this is a much more affordable thing that allows you to kind of go, hey, let's see if email marketing can work for us, and without doing any of the work, we'll put it together. So it's a funny little thing. $495 a month. Kaboom!
Boom!
75% off our usual engagement. So details of this is that basically we're going to take those same 6 pre-written emails. Those will be, obviously, if you're an immigration attorney, they'll be different than if you're a family lawyer, state, whatever. So we'll take those 6 emails, we'll put them in a mobile responsive template so that anybody who gets this, whether they're on their phone, their iPad, or their screen, they're going to get a perfectly beautiful message with all your branding, your links, your phone number, your contact information. We'll set up the automation. So these 6 email messages will completely set up that automation, configure everything. We'll link it to your CRM in most cases. So if you're Lexicata, Clio, Insightly, others that that hook up to MailChimp, we'll do that. And then we'll manage it and monitor it and kind of report on it. And the reporting is really kind of an undervalued thing. Here's the deal. If you could predict of all the people that you put in the automated follow-up system, which one should I follow up with personally? Well, the reporting is awesome for that, because you can look at your reports and you go, hey, these people are clicking on the messages. So these are the people that we should probably follow up with directly via phone. So if you do have some time to follow up with people, it's kind of like a gold metal detector. Find the gold in your list of who to follow up with directly. So that's a big deal. We'll kind of teach you how that works, where the reports are, how to read them, where to find those leads that are worth following up with. So anyway, hopefully that's the best we can do. hopefully that's interesting for somebody. And again, I'm here as a resource. I didn't put this in this presentation, but I'll also offer my unvarnished opinion. I have a 20-minute, free consultation that we talk about. Even if you're like, yeah, I'm not going to use you, but I'd love to answer me some questions, I'm happy to take a few minutes if you're an unbundled attorney member to give you some direction on that. So just try to be as best a resource as possible.
Yeah.
So with that, let's open it up for questions. I guess we can turn the video back on and see if anybody has any questions they want to ask.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken, by the way. I appreciate all that. And one thing I'll just kind of add to that is the integration with Lexicata and Clio. So, most of the attorneys like Robert who have that set up, he basically can just add a tag on any lead. So let's say you call, we deliver a lead into your inbox for those either using Lexicata or Clio, either our integration or you post it in there and you call the lead and he doesn't answer. You call him a second time, they don't get back to you. You just hit a tag that says uncontacted, and then it would, potentially trigger a series in there in your email automation that'll send out a series of emails that you can write and so forth. And you can also add tags for, let's say, a follow-up series. You can, so put people on various different lists that'll have obviously customized emails that are specific to, what just happened. That would be say something like, hey, we've reached out to you a couple of times, just want to stay in touch. They're also going to get the broadcast email like once a month that says, here's some content about what we do. Here's some things we're sharing. Here's some things that are going on in the news and so forth, so that these people are staying in your pipeline and you'll be able to, stay top of mind and keep you in their inbox so that whenever they are ready to move forward, you're right there and you'll be the first one to call. So that's the integration with Lexicata, where you can just tag things and then the emails just go out and they're just immediately added to the list and then the emails send out from there. Well, I want to thank you all for participating in this webinar, and certainly thank you to Ken for taking your time to share really the power of email marketing. It's something that we really know that any lawyer that implements this and this automation into their system, especially when they're regularly taking a lot of leads from us,
let's
it's
open
going to
it
have
up
a
for
huge
questions.
ROI. I mean, even if just one person, calls you back and retains you a month, it's, tenfold increase. And so just really encourage you, even if you don't end up working with Ken, to take the emails we'll send you and start trying to implement them into MailChimp or whatever email service you want to use. And if you're getting stuck and maybe can't handle this yourself, then I think Ken's team would be a great fit for anyone that wants to get this set up. He's had a lot of success with the lawyers he's worked with, and he's been generous enough to put together this option that makes it a lot more affordable for you guys to get something started. All right, so thanks so much for your participation, and certainly let us know if you have any questions. You can email Ken at ken@emailbroadcast.com or submit that form on his website, and he'll be able to talk to you. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions as well.
All right, thanks everybody.